What's up, friends? Welcome into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com with Dan Courtwright. I'm Sean Kellerman, talking KU basketball here in the opening segment.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of year.
Doesn't feel like it.
AP poll, no, but you finally broke out the crew neck.
I did, and I'm sweating underneath it.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate.
It's all right. You need to show Mother Nature who's boss.
October 14th, and trust me, I looked ahead to the weather.
We've got 80s.
It's going to be 80s all week. What is the deal?
I know, man. Dude, you're going to go the entire season without breaking out your flannels.
I know.
That's depressing.
You know how big of a flannel guy I am, too.
We're gonna get 60s here soon enough. But yeah, this is kind of a bummer. We're 7 games into the football season. So, like, what is football weather if we're in the 80s?
I know. Well, so you know this. My fiance is in Wyoming right now, and she keeps on sending me pictures. It's snowing there, and I am like yearning for it.
Oh, snow is my favorite.
Isn't it great?
We should do top 10 seasons. We're talking basketball here in the opening segment. It is the Top 10 Tuesday. I'll get to that here shortly. Next segment, though, we're going to start off with a special segment that we're doing called J-School Jayhawks. You may have seen this on KansasNation.com, but one of the members of the J-School, Lindsay Ryan, had a sit-down with Cam Pickett, so a one-on-one that we'll play for you here on Rock Chalk Sports next segment. And then we do indeed have a Top 10 season. Are we going, or Top 10 Tuesday, are we going Top 10 months, or what are we doing?
No, we are doing, this is a fun one. Actually, it was your idea that sparked this. We're doing our Top 10 things that sports fans yell. Love it.
That's
things that, I mean,
so good.
it's there's you got your regular arsenal of things, and I have pulled together 10 that I think are.
We are going to be on the radio.
Yes.
At some point soon.
Yeah.
Today on ESPN Kansas City.
That's right.
So we just got to be careful with sports fans. They say some crazy things, man.
They do say some crazy things. All of them are FCC regulated.
That's that's the concern.
You know, none of the Darude Sandstorm or Mr. Brightside stuff like that. That those trashy K-State fans say. Trashy.
I thought you were going with Fazoo, but all right.
We'll
roll with it.
Also, Creighton, weird. That was
Top
weird. Remember
10
that?
Tuesday. Yeah, everybody started doing it, and that was not fun. And then at 5 o'clock, we are going to be joined on Zoom by Jordan Guskey of the Topeka Capitol Journal to talk all things KU football and basketball. Going to have great insights on KU's loss to Texas Tech and the path forward. No game this Saturday, but Saturday against K-State will be 11 a.m. at the booth, October 25th. Following that, we're going to get a chance to do a deeper dive into the Chiefs' victory, a Brian Branch breakdown, if you will. Chiefs over the Lions 30-14. We'll close out the show recapping some Monday Night Football action in the doubleheader last night. MLB postseason, the craziest double play you'll ever see, and Brewers, Dodgers, and some other notes from around the world of sports. So I appreciate you rolling with us here on KansasNation.com. Dan, this came out yesterday. We touched on it briefly, but let's get into the AP Top 25 poll. Officially comes out for college basketball, which I want to make this our official first segment. Basketball season is here. The poll is out,
champagne.
And the champagne is popped. We'll let you know right away. KU checks in number 19. This is probably around where most of the national media have had Kansas. John Rothstein's 32.
Yeah.
That's where he's got KU.
That's why he said most of the national media.
Andy Katz in his Power 37, I teased this yesterday, he's got KU at 10.
Wow.
So maybe we can see what sort of symmetry there is between Katz's Power 37 and the AP at some point. But Rothstein has KU very low at 32, and Katz has him at 10. Where they end up, AP voters, Henry Greenstein, shout out, number 19. Top 5 in the AP poll, Purdue 1, Houston 2, Florida 3, UConn 4, and St. John's 5. We'll go through some roster things for each of those teams. 6 Big 12 teams, Dan, in the top 25 AP basketball. KU, the 6th highest of those teams. Your take on the number 19 slot?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's still relatively low, but I honestly kind of assumed it would be around there, right? And we'll talk to Jordan Guskey a little bit later, but I know he said somewhere around 15 to 20 felt about right. Now, that's on the lower end of that spectrum at 19, but still inside of kind of where Jordan thought it was going to be. 19 does feel a little weird to me, but at the same time, like, it is so hard to judge if you're not as deeply ingrained in Kansas basketball as we are, right? Like the Rothsteins and the Andy Katz of the world, and you know the other big time basketball guys, right? The John Fantas, these kind of guys. They don't watch practice. They don't understand how, good Flory Bidunga or how high his ceiling is. They don't understand how high Jaden Dawson's ceiling is, or Marco Jackson, who's been dealing with a ton of injuries and has been really disappointing whenever he's been out there. They don't understand the ceilings that these guys have. So it is kind of hard to gauge it, right? And you're seeing everywhere from 32 to 10, which tells me that there are so many question marks for this Kansas basketball team because there's so much turnover, right? You're losing all of your starting five from last year. You're only bringing back one guy who had any meaningful minutes at all in Flory Bidunga, and he only averaged 5.9 points per game last year per game. So it's obviously, you look at just the base layer numbers and you go, okay, well, yeah, that's not very good. Yes, they had Darren Peterson coming in, who's projected to be number 1 overall in the NBA draft this upcoming year. Yeah, he's going to be good. Who the hell else do they got? Well, we know who the hell else we got. We got Melvin Council, who's a dog, right? Who Darren Peterson even said this in an interview. He said him and Melvin Council are turning into the best front backcourt duo in the nation. You got Jaden Dawson, who is a certified baller, certified three-point shooter. Cole Rosario coming in. Who knows how much of an impact he's going to have, but everybody's super high on him, including us. Marco Jackson, who we've yet to even see what he's able to do. We saw him his freshman year, obviously. Didn't exactly go so well, but I think he was kind of thrown to the wolves a little too early. If you're Marco Jackson, I think that he's going to take a major step up this year, especially coming off of that injury and having a chance to kind of develop under Bill Self more so. This is going to be his 3rd year in the program, and I think El Marco's primed for a big-time season as well. So it is hard to gauge, right? Because all of these are essentially hypotheticals. You do not have solid numbers to back any of this up. You have guys who are veterans who played at not power 4 places. You have Trey White coming in, who did average 10 points at a power 4 in Illinois, but still, not exactly the power forward Kansas is looking for. And I would say potentially, as you look at it, just a step down from KJ Adams in terms of defensive wise and athleticism wise. You say what you want about KJ Adams, but the guy could jump out of the gym. He was really good on defense. Now, is he more of an offensive threat than KJ Adams? I don't know. He only averaged just about 10 points per game at Illinois. So yeah, there are some question marks that are to be had, but we feel confident in our guys.
Yeah, we do, and we'll kind of roll through this. What's weirder than Kansas being ranked 19, Dan, is Kansas not being ranked, which was the case a lot last year.
Yeah.
Right? That's hard for us to remember, right? Because we think back to polls. KU's always in the polls. Not only are they always in the polls, they're always in the top 10.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like, okay, are they going to be 2 this week or are they going to be 7 this week? KU was not ranked. They were 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. We don't want to relive that, but hey, we can say we're back in the polls, right?
Yeah,
KU's 19. No, I don't say that in jest or to throw shade at last year's team, but KU in the polls at 19 and a great opportunity to prove some of those naysayers wrong. I did mention Rothstein at 32, Cats at 10 for where they placed Kansas, but let's look at the AP poll that did come out yesterday officially. I mentioned the top 5. The Big 12 teams that are in, which there are 6, tying 2 other conferences with the most in the poll. Houston is 2 for the Big 12. BYU is 8. Texas Tech is 10. Arizona is 13. Iowa State is 16. So Kansas, if you want to win the Big 12 based on the AP poll projections, you need to jump 5 teams in doing that based on, again, what people think in the preseason. Go through some of the rosters really quick for those Big 12 teams. Of course, we talk about KU's 6 ways to Sunday. Houston, they were the national runners-up, lost to Florida in that heartbreaker in the championship game. They return a lot of key players, particularly Milos Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp, as well as JoJo Tugler, one of those patented Houston big men. Those 3 are going to be starting for them.
Big 12 defensive player, or no, was he national defensive player of the year?
Believe he was Big 12.
Big 12
I think Braden Smith. I'll check that though
right.
on national. But Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, Joseph Tugler, and then 2 guys coming in the freshman class that are in the top 15, in Isaiah Harwell and Chris Sinek Jr. for Houston. So yeah, they are loaded as they usually are. BYU at number 8. We all know their 1-2 punch, if you will. I guess that's rude to Richie Saunders if I say that. He's an All Big 12 performer, but you bring in Rob Wright, who is an all Big 12 caliber point guard, he comes over from Baylor, and AJ DeBonsa projected to be a top 2 pick in the NBA draft. They also return the all Big 12 performer in Saunders, as well as Kennard Davis, who scored over 16 a game at Southern Illinois, and Keba Keita, who came to BYU, interestingly enough, by way of Utah. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine they have great feelings toward him. Number 10, Texas Tech. Like I said, Christian Anderson, that guy is a problem. He's a sophomore point guard. He is back, average over 10 points a game. He can really shoot it. They also returned the Big 12 Player of the Year in JT Toppin, and then a bunch of transfers. So some question marks for Grant McCasland as well. But Tyree Bryan, Lawan Watts, and Luke Bamboy all come over and are projected to be starters for number 10, Texas Tech. Number 13 is Arizona, another team that loses a lot of guys, right? Caleb Love, amazingly, is out of eligibility,
Man,
so
that's
he will not be
crazy.
back. But Henry Vasar
Feels like it
goes.
was just yesterday. He was a freshman.
Henry Vasar goes to North Carolina. KJ Lewis goes to Georgetown. They do return Jaden Bradley, Anthony Del Orso, and they bring in Koa Pete as well. Toby Owaka, he is a returner. Braden Burries, number 12 in the ESPN 100, and Koa Pete, number 10 in the ESPN 100, round out the starting five for Arizona.
You're also forgetting about Savannah James's son, Bryce James.
You gotta have a James drop. I know.
Bronny James's brother.
Bryce James, yes,
That's how he's famous.
That's how he's known. Savannah's son. Yes,
Savannah's
that
son.
that was well put. And then Iowa State, the other Big 12 team that we'll highlight here, they're returning three really good players. I mean, Iowa State's always going to be there, right?
Yeah.
It sure seems like it. They're going to be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's going to be very difficult to win at their place. Taman Lipsey is back again. One of those guys that seems like he's been there forever because he was good as a freshman and then he was good as a sophomore. And it's just how it goes. He comes back to run point. Obviously had some injuries in the postseason last year. Did Lipsey, Milan Momcilovic as well. He returns. He dealt with some injuries last year, but he's a pro prospect if there ever was one. A 6'8" lanky guy who can shoot. Joshua Jefferson returns down low. They do lose Deshaun Jackson. The other two in their projected starting lineup, according to ESPN, are Blake Buchanan, who comes over from Virginia, and then Jamarion Bateman, who's a top 100, ESPN top 100 freshman coming in as well. For what it's worth for KU, who last year went 21-13, not very many wins compared to what we're used to.
Yeah.
Who ESPN has as KU's starting five, DP and Flory, and then they've got Melvin Council at the 2, who I'm still leaning toward. I think that he probably will be a starter for KU. Jaden Dawson, who scored nearly 14 a year, or 14 a game last year at Loyola Chicago. We haven't talked about him quite as much. KU is going to need him to be a guy who shoots it very well from the perimeter. And then Trey White, who comes over from Illinois. His fourth school now, in fact, is Kansas. He's projected to start at the 4, and you highlighted those guys a little bit. But again, there's just so much talent in the Big 12, and we'll talk a little bit more about some other teams in the AP top 25. But Kansas is going to have their work cut out for them, and it should be very interesting to see how many of these guys that we're high on, including Mbia and Calderon and Rosario, how many of those guys are actually going to be impact players. Because we always talk about depth, right? We talk about, oh, this KU team is so deep. And we mentioned this a few days ago with the year we had Joe Yesufu and Bobby Pettiford, who are good players, but not quite good enough at Kansas, right?
Yeah. Hey, Bobby Pettiford had a game winner.
What's it going to look like for KU from a roster standpoint? Are there going to be guys that naturally go into the abyss a little bit, kind of? Because there's only so many minutes to give, but they need these guys to mesh together. And they're going to need, even if they take some hits early, they're going to need to find a way to get everybody meshing and get everybody performing well if they're going to compete with some of these talented rosters.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. I think that Bill Self is going to change his ways a little bit because he's kind of going to be forced to, right? I mean, you look at it from last year, and there was a lot of people who were complaining about how much DeJuan Harris and how much KJ Adams were playing just because of the fact that you're like, hey, we have guys who are better than them, and they go on stretches where they start playing bad, and you're like, oh, well, Bill Self's playing his guys. There are no Bill Self guys on this program anymore, except for like El Marco, right? And Jamari McDowell. So you're going to have a ton of new guys. So I think it's going to kind of force Bill Self's hand in terms of he's going to have to figure it out early. And the way that he's going to be able to do that, he's going to have to rotate early as well. So when you look at games like, and sure, you can look at the Green Bay game, and a lot of guys are going to get a lot of play in that, but like the UConn game, the Duke game, I bet you there are going to be some pretty solid rotation in there just because Bill Self is still going to be figuring it out. And yes, he has the offseason to still continue to figure this out, but it's very different from practice to a game. So I think that you are going to see a lot of disparity in terms of minutes distribution. We might see a lot of El Marco and Melvin Council and Jaden Dawson. We might see a healthy rotation of those three guys, right? We might see a little bit of Jamari McDowell, especially in kind of the throwaway game. I don't want to say throwaway games, but like Fort Hays State and Green Bay and those kind of games as well. So there is going to be quite a bit of rotation aside from Darren Peterson and Flory Bidunga. I'm excited to see how much Paul and Bia is going to get some play as well, and see if potentially they move Flory to that 4. That's been something that I've been, advocating for, is, hey, having Flory, because Flory has the skill set to be able to be a solid 4 guy. I think he's really good at this at the center position. He's a good shot blocker. He's really good underneath the rim. But at the same time, he has the ability to stretch it a little bit and play that 4 position. And Paul Mbia is just so tall and lengthy. I said it before, it's going to be hard to keep him off the court. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think, like I said, it's going to force Bill Self's hand a little bit to just he has to be forced to play more guys just to figure it out early and to figure out, okay, who are the guys, who are the certified gamers that we can throw in there and be able to have a solid starting 5.
I think Paul Mbia is your guy. I think that's your guy.
I love
right?
Paul Mbia.
So I think he's going to be your guy this season. Everybody else we talk to says Cole Rosario. So
I'm big on Paul Mbia.
I got to find my guy. I'm going
Get
Darren
you
Peterson.
Oh,
I'm going Darren Peterson. Yeah, he's gonna be my guy.
That's a hot take.
You're
Right.
high on Mbia.
We'll
he's
see
gonna be
who
your guy.
averages more points.
Everybody loves Cole Rosario. I'm going Darren Peterson, man. I'm switching it up. No, but hey, speaking of some of those non-con teams that you mentioned, let's look at them because we talked about the Big 12 teams that KU will get a chance to face this season. UConn comes in at number 4. Like I said, back-to-back national championships before last year, losing early, lost in the round of 32. They actually had Florida on the ropes. Florida ends up winning the national title, but in that round of 32 game, those are never fun. Danny Hurley's squad almost got them. But they returned Solo Ball and Alex Caravan. Those are likely going to be their big point scorers. Also bring in Silas Damari Jr. He transfers over from Georgia, and Braylon Mullins, who's a top 20 guy in the ESPN 100. Terrace Reed Jr. also returns to UConn. He rounds out their projected starting 5 according to ESPN. Duke, KU, that goes down November 18th in the Champions Classic. They return Caleb Foster, who averaged just over 5 points a game and has dealt with some injuries and some adversity throughout his Duke career. But they've got a lot of question marks as well. They get the Boozer brothers, top 5 players in the ESPN 100, and they bring in Nicholas Kaminia, who's number 15 in the ESPN 100. But otherwise, some questions. Isaiah Evans has not averaged 10 points a game in his college career, and Patrick Ngamba, the second,
I was going to say,
under 4 points.
When you look at Duke, you can kind of say the same thing about Duke as you can to Kansas, where their leading scorer coming back only averaged 6.8 points per game. Other than that, Caleb Foster, 5.1. Now, we know Caleb Foster is a gamer. We know he's able to take over games, but also, like you said, dealt with some injuries. And then Patrick Ngamba, second, I'm reading numbers. He only averaged 3.9 points per game last year. So you have guys who, three guys who are coming back for Duke who didn't even average over 7 points per game last year, and then 2 incredible freshmen who are going to be coming in, projected to going to be starting. So them at the number 6, I think is a little high for me, and we can go over maybe some surprises,
particularly
too.
when you compare it to KU's 19.
Right.
And granted, Duke also has some other talented players. Malik Brown, of course, returns, and Dame Sarr, another talented freshman who's in Durham. So, but yeah, 6. When you look at some of these other teams, obviously we know the Big 12 better, but how they're ranked 10 spots above a team like Iowa State is confused. I mean, they're losing Flag, Malawach, and Knipple. It's a lot. A lot of expectations. We get it. It's Duke, but yeah, they're ranked very high in the AP poll in the preseason. Louisville, we're going to add them as a team that Kansas is facing. Of course, it doesn't matter, but it's a week from Friday at 6:30 at the Yum Center. They have a top 10 player coming in, and Michael Brown Jr. He is number 8. Isaac McNeely comes over from Virginia. Ryan Conwell comes over from Xavier. Pat Kelsey very quickly has turned this team into a national contender.
Gosh, remember when they were winning like 9 games a year?
Yeah, they were 12-52 the years before Kelsey got there. 2 years. Yeah, it's been quite the turnaround. So yeah, those are some looks at who Kansas has. The other team that Kansas has in the AP Top 25 that they'll be facing November 7th, the Dean Dome. KU heads to UNC, who barely gets in the top 25 at number 25. Kean Evans, who averaged nearly 11 points a game at Colorado State, is now going to be playing for the Tar Heels. Seth Trimble returns. He's back for another year. Seems like he's been there forever. Mentioned Vasar comes over from Arizona. Those are some key players. NC State not in here, but they're a fringe top 25 team. Of course, they have Darion Williams as their main name coming in. But a lot of talent across college basketball, and KU's going to have a chance, Dan, to take on a lot of these teams. That's what it's all about, right? Bill Self always schedules difficult, and particularly with a young team that needs a lot of meshing to happen early. Wouldn't be surprised to see some bad performances, honestly, early. But that doesn't mean that with all the talent on this team, they can't eventually get to a Final Four caliber squad.
Yeah, that's why I think I like the way that Bill Self and Travis Goff and everybody kind of schedules Kansas during the basketball season, is because they schedule really tough non-con games. And in theory, if you are underranked, which is now the case, it usually never is, but Kansas underranked, that gives them a chance to really climb up those rankings. If they can knock off UConn, if they can knock off Duke, if they can knock off North Carolina, you know, well, I don't know if the Louisville game will really do anything. I can't imagine it will, but still, like, if they're able to knock off
It'd be
all of
nice
these
to win
teams,
that, since the
yes,
previous 2 years haven't
right,
gone well after losing the
that's
road
right.
exhibition games.
Yeah, it'd be nice to win that, obviously, like you said. So if Kansas is able to knock off those teams that they're facing in the AP preseason top 25 poll, then all of a sudden Kansas is going to be climbing, as opposed to if you're playing Fort Hays State and Emporia State and Washburn every single game in the non-con and you're ranked at number 19, you blow those teams out, you're not going to be able to climb as much. So I like the fact that Kansas does have a tough non-con to be able to prove everybody wrong, because you and I, we're on the same page and we think that Kansas is criminally low, and we understand that Darren Peterson is going to be able to take over games. We think Flory is going to take a huge jump up from last year, which is crazy because he already was incredibly good last year. We love our rotational pieces, our depth pieces. This is one of the deeper teams that Kansas has had in a long time. So I think that we're both on the same page in terms of, like, okay, well, Kansas, they shouldn't be number 19. They should be higher, and they have opportunities to prove it. Do you want to go through the top 25 and just kind of
Go for it.
talk about different teams who
Let,
you think
let
are
Dan let Dan cook
potentially?
here.
So I have I have a qualm, I guess. Not a qualm. Maybe that's not the right word. Purdue at number 1. Are they deserving of that? Because you and I both kind of talked about this off air. There is no chance in
No.
hell Purdue wins the national championship,
Right,
right?
I said the same thing about Texas in the preseason for college football.
Right, yeah.
No one does less with more than Texas. Purdue, I like Matt Painter. It seems like they have a solid
Yeah.
program. They're returning Big Ten Player of the Year in Braden Smith. Elsewhere on the Purdue roster, of course, you're losing key guys, but you have Fletcher Lawyer, a really good college player.
Yeah.
Trey Kaufman-Wren, a really good college player,
Awesome. Yeah.
averaged 20 points a game. Those are really quality Big Ten players, right?
Yes.
Oscar Clough comes over from South Dakota State. Will they be running the two bigs? Maybe Kaufman-Wren can be stretched out a little bit. Not sure, but he seems like a Big Ten guy.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily trying to be a stab at the Big Ten, but a Big Ten school hasn't won a national championship since 2000.
Yeah,
When
that's right.
Tom Izzo got his only national championship. They don't, maybe it's a stereotype, generally have the type of players who have the athleticism, length, NBA talent. And it's great. I mean, they have a good college roster, and you could say that it's the same reason that Kansas shouldn't have been number 1 the last 2 years, right? Like, how many of these guys are playing at the next level, right? Then you look and you go 2, 3, 4, 5, and you see a lot of NBA talent.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
The rest of the way.
Like Houston, which as much as I don't want Houston to be good because Kansas obviously plays them, and I want Kansas to beat them, Houston should be number 1, right? I mean, Milos Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp, JoJo Tugler. They got 2 guys who are in the top 15 that are going to be freshmen starting on this squad, who are going to be absolute game changers for Houston. I mean, looking at this Houston squad, to me, they look like a national championship caliber team. Just looking at the starting lineup for Purdue, they do not look like a national championship caliber squad. I just don't see them. Like you said, there's not NBA talent there.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But there is pretty much everywhere in college basketball these days. So KU will see a lot of them, particularly in the Big 12 with some of those rosters.
And then North Carolina shouldn't be in.
We
I just wanted to throw that out
Yeah,
there.
that's the Bubba Cunningham special.
Yeah.
All right. One last thing I want to say about KU checking in at number 19 in the preseason poll. Last year's national champion, Florida, preseason, 21 in the AP poll. Something to think about. Think about that.
I'll think about it. I'll sit on that.
After this, we're going to do our first J-School Jayhawks segment where Lindsay Ryan will sit down with KU wide receiver Cam Pickett. You're watching Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com.
This is Dale Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, last week we kicked off our initial J-School Jayhawks segment. Lindsay Ryan sat down with Cam Pickett. We're going to have a different member of the J-School get a chance to interview a KU athlete, part of our coverage on KansasNation.com. So here's Lindsay Ryan and Cam Pickett.
Hi, this is Lindsay Ryan with the first edition of J-School Jayhawks. Earlier, I got the opportunity to sit down with wide receiver Cam Pickett. I'm Lindsay Ryan here with Cam Pickett. Cam, thanks for joining me.
For sure.
All right, so Cam, you obviously transferred from Ball State last year. So what made you choose KU, and what do you like about it so far?
I just felt like it was a good opportunity for me to be able to come in and make an impact. I like the coaches. I like the players and the culture here. I just felt like it was a good fit for me.
And then obviously there's the new stadium this year. What has been your favorite part of that?
My favorite part definitely had to be scoring the first touchdown in there. It's the best feeling in the world, really, being able to score. And, you hear the stadium get loud. And just to know my name is in history now.
All right, and then if you could choose one sport to play other than football, what would it be?
One sport, I feel like the easy one would be for me to say, like track or basketball or something like that. Because I'm pretty fast and I was good at basketball. But I think the one is really badminton. I say that because in high school in gym class, I was like super good at it. And I was real competitive. My team won a championship and all that.
Okay,
so I definitely got to go
sometime. All right, and then can you take us through like your pregame ritual? Do you have a song you listen to, like a meal?
A song? Well, I have like a playlist that I made, and I play songs in a specific order. Okay. So I kind of hear like, the beginning, like when we're on a bus, it's kind of just chill songs, kind of calm my mind down, and then like as we get closer to kickoff, like it's more like my favorite songs are like songs that get me, hyped and ready for the game towards the end.
First, are you a Spotify or Apple Music user?
Can you say that one more time?
Are you Apple Music or Spotify?
Oh, Apple Music, 100%.
Okay. Same. What would be like your top 5 artists?
Top 5 artists? The number one would definitely be Lil Durk. I think G Herbo will be up there. Who else? Gunna might be high up on there. I've been listening to him a lot lately. Who else? Babyface Ray. And probably Don Toliver.
If you could pick one song to play before a game, what would it be?
One song? Probably This Ain't What You Want by Lil Durk.
All right, and then you guys obviously don't have a lot of off days right now, but on your off days, what are you doing?
My off day, I spend a lot of time watching Netflix or YouTube, just sitting back chilling.
What shows or movies?
Shows. I like kind of like shows like, or movies like, what's the movie? White House Down, movies like that, or like Olympus Has Fallen.
Okay.
Kind of like, the crazy movies where there's just something crazy going on.
And then there's like obviously a lot of places to eat on Mass Street and in Lawrence. What would be your go-to spot?
My go-to spot? Probably Pickleman's. Get the Chipotle chicken sandwich. Yeah, that's definitely my go-to. Yeah. I think I went there yesterday actually. So.
And then what's your inspiration and what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is really just my family. They always, they come to every game. They support me a lot. Like ever since I was a kid, like I always had like somebody there to watch me play. And so, that's definitely my motivation. I just try to make my family proud for real.
And then being on 2 separate teams, you've gotten to play in a lot of cool places. What was the coolest place you've gotten to play so far?
In the booth.
Other than the booth.
The booth,
Other
for
than
sure.
the booth.
The coolest place I played, I think last year I played at the U. We played at Hard Rock. That was pretty cool in the NFL stadium.
Yeah. And then are you excited for a certain matchup so far this year that you haven't maybe gotten to play yet?
Just the next game, really. Just the next one.
And then if you could describe the team in one word so far this season, what would it be?
Exciting.
What are you most excited for the next couple games?
Just maximizing our potential. I feel like we got a lot more that we can do that we haven't proven yet, and we have the ability to do it. And so I'm just excited for us to continue to put it all together.
That was my conversation with wide receiver Cam Pickett. Stay tuned for more sit-down interviews with your Kansas football team on the next edition of J-School Jayhawks.
Lindsay Ryan and Cam Pickett last week. After this, Dan, Top 10 Tuesday. Tell us about it.
Yeah, doing our top 10 things that sports fans yell.
Okay.
Which we haven't been able to do this for a while. You more so because you've been in the booth.
Yeah.
In the press box, you're not allowed to cheer. So I usually have to put a cork in it. But before that, I used to be yelling a bunch
We
of
got to
stuff.
get you to a Chiefs game, man. You've
I
been a
know.
one in your life.
I've been a one in my life.
Sad. That's
I
sad.
watched Josh Gordon score a touchdown. Can you believe that?
Oh, my God.
That's
That's
insane.
of all the games to go to. That's crazy.
I know.
Top 10 Tuesday coming up after this. Thanks for watching Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
John Kellerman, Dan Courtwright back with you. Exciting couple months coming up for all things KU. We're going to hear from Jordan Guskey next segment, and he talked about how, hey, it's busy season started. We got college football. We're right in the middle of that. We're also in the middle of, 49 consecutive days of football.
Yes.
Hard to argue with that.
Mm.
Got basketball going on, KU soccer, KU volleyball as well. So all your coverage right here on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com. Plus, I believe you can find us an audio medium and video mediums as well.
That's right. I'm glad you brought that up, Sean. Completely unprompted. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, we will be there. Check us out on YouTube, obviously, because we have nice cameras and the scoreboard. And if you want to look at Sean's face all day,
My trinkets are what I'm worried about.
yes, the trinkets.
They're
we have
cute.
we have a bunch of trinkets on the desk, so check those out. But also, if you're in your car on your commute, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and anywhere you get your audio podcasts. Top 10 Tuesday.
KansasNation.com. Top 10 Tuesday. Let's hear it.
Top 10 Tuesday. Thank you for saying it's a very special Top 10 Tuesday, Sean. You never.
I dropped it.
He
I
never
did.
calls them special anymore.
I know. I used to all the time.
They're all very special to me. This is a special one. Sean, you actually thought of this idea. I thought it was fun, so I was going to run with it. We're doing our top 10 things that sports fans say. Let's go ahead and kick it off with number 10. This is the wordiest one I have. All of them are not. The other 9 are not super wordy,
Okay.
but I love this one so much. It has always stuck with me.
Top 10 things sports fans yell.
So I have been to a couple of Topeka Roadrunners games. They've
I'm not familiar.
bounced around. They were the Topeka Scarecrows. They were the Topeka Tarantulas when I was a kid. They're a hockey team.
Okay.
Very, 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 very minor league hockey
Are
team.
they now the Amarillo?
No, they're the Scarecrows again.
Oh, they're back to being scared. Okay.
Yeah, so they went from the Tarantulas to the Scarecrows to the Roadrunners to the Pilots, back to the Roadrunners, back to the
Gotcha.
Scarecrows.
Okay.
So they're working their way backwards. I went to a game when I was a kid. I think it was a Roadrunners game, and I remember hearing this because hockey has periods, and this one always stuck with me. Someone said, "Hey ref, are you pregnant? You've missed 2 periods already."
Wow.
That is
That
my
is-
favorite thing that anybody's
That's
ever.
unique.
It's
I
very
don't think
unique.
I've ever heard that one.
So because hockey has periods, so it's very specific. I love that one. That
And
one
pregnant
made
people do not.
pregnant people do not. It always stuck with me. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so clever and so funny.
How old were you?
I was probably 8 years old.
Oh
and
my
I
God.
mean, it has stuck
Wow.
with me
That
all these
really
years.
did stick. You've been holding out on me.
Yeah, it's been stuck with me.
I
all
mean,
the-
we've been
well,
on
'cause,
air
you
almost
know,
2 years, and I've never heard this
'cause-
story.
Well, because basketball is halves. Football or basketball's halves and quarters, depending on what level of basketball you're watching. Football's quarters. I mean, baseball's innings. Like you can't really use it unless unless it's hockey.
That's
'cause
right.
It's period, and they play 3 periods. So, hey, ref, are you pregnant because you've already missed 2 periods? Hilarious. So I had to throw that one in there. I'm putting it at number 10 because it's very specific. I'll go ahead with number 9. Number 9 on my top 10 things that sports fans yell. Travel.
People do love.
They love to call
that.
out those travels,
That is their
man.
favorite thing. So yeah, what's the football equivalent? Because That's pass interference. That's got to be what it is.
So my number 8 is
Let's hear it.
fair. So number 8, that's a hold.
Oh my God! Yes, very similar.
Two very similar ones,
For
different
sure.
sports. Travel
stacked 'em.
at number 9. Travel. That's all you.
That's
and
a
then
walk.
hold.
Yeah.
Hold.
Oh, my brother loves that. He loves.
It's so funny too because it's always coming from somebody who's like sitting in section 338 and they're in a different zip code in the stadium and they go, "That's a hole." How
Yeah,
can you tell?
right.
You can't even see the
I have
numbers.
such a
What do
good
you? Oh,
one.
you can see them getting underneath the shoulder, the shoulder pads. No, you can't. You can't. No, it's.
Plus, I mean, to be fair, a hold could probably be called on every play, which is why I kind of hate it. But realistically, I mean, it could be at least an
Sure.
offensive hold.
Yeah,
But yeah,
if
I have a
if you
great
ever yell
one
out
for honorable
hold, you're
mention later.
usually gonna be right.
Yeah, for sure. But no, the traveling is a big one.
Yeah.
Especially, refs have gotten more laissez-faire with traveling, particularly in the National Basketball Association the past 10, 15 years. But fans just absolutely love that because it's a basic rule. They know that you have to dribble the ball, and when they see the ball's not being dribbled, bam, easy. Same thing with the hold. I mean, something bad happens to their team. That's a hold.
That's a hold. We did that was a hold. What do you? Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good. I love those two kind of fit together very because they're the two very different sports, but very similar in terms of just yeah. All right, I'll move on to number 7. Number 7, classic can be for both sports, most sports actually, and it's that's our ball. That's our ball.
Yeah.
That went out on him. That was our ball.
Yeah.
It could be
Basketball.
It's diverse too because basketball it tips off their finger. That's our ball. Also like a fourth down not converted. They go, that's our ball.
You know what people really need to cut out on basketball wise, and by people I'm thinking coaches and fans.
Oh yeah. Review.
Like Dan Hurley comes to mind. Right? Just going up and down the sideline.
Oh no.
And then players started doing it too.
I know.
These last couple of years, players are doing that constantly.
No, I know.
Like, no.
Or
they'll look to their coach. Even in baseball now that you can challenge, they'll be like, but they're not as big of drama queens about it in baseball though, because they're just like pointing to the manager like, go look at that. I think I got him.
No, but it is always so funny because like those often always come from the people who are up in the nosebleeds.
It's great.
Where like especially in basketball, like the ball will go out on somebody and there's somebody literally at the very top. Like
their money was spent on the beer beforehand.
And they're like, that's our ball.
Yeah.
Like how? What? How can you? By the way, that reminded me of the Big 12 tournament. Remember where the media was sitting? That was quite the view.
It was.
I thought it was fun. I like the bird's eye view. It was a little high for me.
Yeah, it was. It was high. I wonder if they're gonna change that. We'll have to see.
Maybe we'll see. But yeah, that's always where people are saying, "Oh, that's our ball." You can't tell.
Yeah.
There's no way you can tell. Number 6. So here's another one that I like them paired together. So number 6 is let them play.
Yeah.
Let them play. Whenever there's a lot of flags or the game keeps on being stopped because of fouls, right? I love that. They go, let them play. Let him play the game. Who cares? Well, so he grabbed his face mask and turned his head backwards. Let him play.
That's what is the greatest thing about it is because it's complete opposite of that's a hold.
So number 5 is that's a foul.
Yes.
And usually they happen back to back.
Oh,
When something happens,
let them play.
When something happens, when they call a foul against your team, you go, let them play. But then when a foul happens against your team, you go, oh, that's a foul.
Yeah,
it's the duality of man, which I think is so beautiful.
Dying to say for honorable mention that I'm going to save it. But that's like I'm picturing watching games with my brother.
Yeah,
and it's just like the passion.
Yeah,
comes forward, and
that's
a foul.
And the bias, it doesn't even. You don't even think about it. It comes out of you from somewhere deep inside,
right?
Where you go, oh, let him play. Oh no, well that's a foul. Yeah. It's very. I love those two paired together because it's hypocrisy at its finest.
Yes,
it's a beautiful thing to see.
Double standard.
Every single.
That's what makes fans fanatics.
Yes. Don't you tell me? Oh, I've never. That's BS. For a fact. You've said both of those things in the
In a
same
30-second
game.
span.
Yeah, within a 30-second span. Let them play. Oh, that's a foul.
Yeah.
Two contradictory statements, and I absolutely love it. I was giggling about that beforehand, by
that's
the way.
good.
Number 4, a classic, and this is more of a chant than a yell, but they still yell it. You can't do that.
Oh,
Clap,
yeah.
clap, clap, clap.
I actually
like that.
I
You don't
actually
like
hate
it?
that one.
Why?
I just think it's unbelievably lame.
Oh, come on.
That's the
Let 'em have fun.
lamest thing to chant, and people do it. I mean, people do it.
Don't listen to him.
People even do it here in town
Yeah.
at particular sporting events where there's a round hoop and a round ball.
Yeah.
There's a certain sport that I'm alluding to that you
A round
might,
hoop and a round ball.
that you might be thinking. Anyway, I don't want to give it away. But people like to say you can't do. I just think it's lame.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. It can
There's
be on
nothing
the
wrong.
list. It can be on the list.
You
That's fine. It's a
can't do
top
that. I
10
like
thing
it.
that sports fans yell. But
And that's the beauty of this. It's my list.
that's fine. It can be on the list. I don't
Sean
have any.
can't
It's
change
just
my list.
if it were top 10 best things, for sports
I
fans
like
to
it.
yell,
It's
I wouldn't
fun
have it.
because I like camaraderie and everyone gets involved with it.
Yeah,
right?
I just think it's there's no creativity.
Whenever you get
It's lame.
it's what do you mean? No, there's no
lame.
You can't do that. It's creative.
No, it's not. To be fair,
Because
the
it's funny
KU
because
chant
it's
of
a stab. It's like,
you doesn't have a lot of creativity, but it's classic.
yeah, that's not creative at all.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
You're agreeing with me, but it's KU.
You can't do
it's
that. It's
pride.
funny, and the reason it's funny, I'll explain the joke because that's what always makes jokes funnier is if you explain the joke. The joke is that they don't understand the rules, and it would be very funny if like you said you can't do that, and one of the players is like, "Oh,
Are you serious?
wait, really?
You
Like
sure?
you can't do that?" I see. That's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
I'm glad I
That would be
explained
that would
joke.
be funny if a player did that. I'll stipulate that.
Yes,
sir.
I think that's great. I think it's funny to be like because it's insulting their intelligence.
Yes.
and they're
I know,
playing
I just think
basketball at one of the higher levels.
I think
Or
there's
football,
there's
or
a
whatever.
little bit of a taint to it, if you ask me, just because the KU fans, as we've discussed, at Allen Fieldhouse the past couple of years haven't been
True.
so it's like I picture them like looking around saying you can't do that. It's like no, you need to be in the game.
Yeah. No, I'm with
Standing,
you. I'm
also.
with you. 3. A lot of these are aimed at referees, which I'm not crazy about because I'm usually pro referee.
But that's a classic sports fan.
no, I know. Number 3, open your eyes.
Mm.
Classic. Open your eyes.
Yeah, I have Come On Blue on
Come On
mine.
Blue,
Similar thing.
yeah.
Come on, Blue.
Yeah. Open your eyes.
Yeah.
That's universal, right?
Right.
That's basketball, football, baseball, soccer. I mean anything.
Hey, Blue, we got a baseball game going on right here.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh man, that's so good. I used to umpire. I have a bunch of umpire stories for you. I'll tell you later. But I used to umpire for like 8 years, and I have some great chirps that I
people-
heard, and
yeah.
I was like I had
Did
to
you
like
laugh,
step
or-
back and be like, that's good.
How many
Like,
times did you give a makeup call because of?
Never. I used to go hard the opposite way.
Seriously,
I used to go
I
hard
like
the
it.
opposite
I like
way.
it. Yeah.
Like if they're asking for strikes,
You're
walking the next
your-
4
your-
pitches.
Your,
I don't
your
care.
zone's getting even tighter.
I'm walking the next 4.
Yeah.
You're asking me for strikes? Guess
That's
what?
how I
All
would do it, too.
balls.
That's how I would do it too.
Yeah, no, I was very petty
Yeah.
back then. But I like open your eyes is fun. Open your eyes. That's just a,
Come on, Blue.
open your eyes. Number 2. And 1.
Ugh.
And
The
one.
Giannis.
So
Gotta do the
good.
Giannis.
Mm.
Tedecumpo.
And 1. And 1. It's so good.
That is
well, and it's
that is good.
it's great because the players will yell that, right? But it's like when it's such a nasty finish when
Like
you're
a Johnny Furphy type.
yes, but like when you're like you're horizontal and you throw up something ridiculous from behind your head.
Mhm.
They're screaming and 1, and then the fans are and 1.
Or
It's
even-
nothing like it, man.
Even at a KU game, big momentum swing. KU's on a run.
Yeah.
You feed the post. Flory finishes it, gets fouled.
Yeah.
Everybody's going crazy.
And
They hear the
one.
whistle. They see the ball go down.
Count
And
the
1. Yeah,
and
that's the thing.
one.
This would be the
and
motion.
1. That's what you
You
do.
need top 10 motions at some point.
That's good.
This
yeah.
is this. Oh, no, you got
Yeah.
go to the monitor.
and
but then
1.
and
Count the
1.
bucket.
Yeah.
Count the bucket.
What's the number one motion though if we were to do that?
Strike. Well, I thought you meant just in general. I was getting like a good strike 3 rip out.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
like
true.
that's got to be top
If
tier.
a fan does that.
Mm.
But like just the fist pump, like that's a classic.
Yeah, like Bill Self after he beat Mizzou. Like that's like a
That was great.
With the suit jacket flailing in the wind. I love
Yeah.
it. I absolutely love it. That was number 2. Number 1, very simple.
Top 10
very
list
easy.
of sports
things that sports fans yell.
Okay.
Let's
go.
Let's go.
Sometimes
Let's
there's
go.
sometimes there's a magic word in the middle of there.
Yeah.
An additional word, if you will. Let's go.
A magic word in the middle. Let's abracadabra go.
Yeah. Every sport. Like
let's go. I say that.
I need to ask somebody what's the not English equivalent, like in any other language, of let's go, because that's what it is in all sports.
That's what it is in all sports. That's what it is in like my everyday life. I had a friend who like he told me he was pregnant with his wife, and I said let's go. Like I didn't even say congratulations. I was like let's go. Like that's awesome.
Right. I'm pretty sure that's what I commented on your post when you got engaged.
It is.
Let's go.
So let's go. It works. It works with everything, man. It works with everything.
Not even sports related at times.
But I have a couple honorable mentions.
Anytime something good happens, though, it's let's blanking go.
Yeah. Let's blank and go. Like let's go.
Especially combined with the and one in basketball. And one.
Yeah,
let's go. Yeah. Honorable mention.
Ole, 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 ole. And then I brought this up to you. Rock chalk chant. You don't think that's a yelling thing?
Not really yelling. That's more of a more of beautiful molasses coming out of the mouth.
It's like an ominous, like ghostly howl.
Yes.
If you will. Yeah.
Maybe top 10 ghostly howls, it would be up there.
Right. We'll do a top 10 ghostly howls sometime. You have any honorable mentions?
My favorite one is the one that I alluded to earlier.
Come on, Blue.
My brother pulls this one out all the time. How is that not a foul?
How's that not a foul? Is so good.
That's so
great.
good.
How's that not a foul?
Or a flag?
Yeah. How's that not a flag?
But basketball is the best because like a guy goes in. How is that not a foul?
Yeah, I know. It's oh my gosh. That should have been on here.
I'm
Honestly.
telling you, man. That's because that's how they phrase it. It's not as much that's a foul. How is that not a foul?
Right. Yeah. No. That's. Yeah. How is that not a foul?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I said that a lot
all the time. Oh,
that's like probably the one that I pull out most.
Yeah.
That and let's go. So that's a huge oversight on my end. That one should have been in there.
Well, I'm glad that we could get it in either way. But that's our top 10 list. Things sports fans yell at sporting events, watching sporting events. I knew Let's Go was going to be number one. It's just an absolute classic. KansasNation.com. We have all sorts of other shows as well. Of course, Rock Chalk Sports is daily here 4 to 6. And we also have Greg Gurley and Mick Schaefer. They have a show that's going to be up very shortly. Legends of Kansas as well. Brandon McAnderson and Chris Harris Jr. And then Brian Haney has another special guest, not a special ghost.
Go. This place is haunted.
Brian Haney, in honor of Halloween, is going to be by himself for the next Haney and the Hawks. He's going to have a special ghost as his guest, sitting over there. But no, Jared Casey, the pride of Plainville, Kansas,
that's
as well. Plus the Jayhawker podcast as well. Coach Leipold is up on KansasNation.com also.
Yeah, check it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your stuff. A ton of great content here on KansasNation.com.
Nate Bucati runs that, so yeah, absolutely. Hey, after this, we are going to hear from Jordan Guskey, Topeka Capitol Journal. We spoke to him a little bit earlier today, so we'll have that in full. Thanks for watching Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. Along with Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman. Pleased now to be joined by Jordan Guskey of the Topeka Capitol Journal. Hey, Jordan, thanks for coming on, man. Bye week. Appreciate a chance to catch up now. 7 games into the KU football season. Basketball coming up with late night on Friday. Let's start with KU's loss on the gridiron on Saturday. Texas Tech's really good. They got us 42-17. What were your initial thoughts following that one and the days after as it relates to KU versus Texas Tech?
Yeah, I think I don't think anyone's necessarily surprised that Texas Tech, being one of the preseason Big 12 favorites, came in and really sort of handled that game outside of the second quarter where KU comes back. So I think the perception of each team is sort of along the lines of what I thought coming into the preseason, that Kansas is a dangerous team in the Big 12 and that Texas Tech is a team that if it, plays the way it's supposed to, is going to be able to lead those games pretty handily as it did at the end. So I think that final score may be a bit bigger, I think, than what I had initially predicted. But as that game sort of went on, Texas Tech was just able to run the ball and sort of handle things with its defensive front. So I think it sort of generally played out how people might have expected.
Yeah, one of the main concerns heading into that one was that defensive front that you spoke of. I don't think a lot of people thought 9 sacks, or at least the hope was that it wouldn't be that high. But couple that with really stifling a KU run game that's been hit or miss at best this season. What did you see up front from KU and the offensive line, blocks, tight ends, blocking? Because a lot of guys who were playing on Sundays sort of had their way against them.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, as you mentioned, that was sort of maybe a disappointing aspect for KU after that game, especially considering how highly KU thought of its pass blocking going into that matchup, even though Texas Tech, like you mentioned, was anticipated having a good front. So I think just not enough execution there from that offensive line for Kansas, maybe tying the tight ends there. Some plays that obviously they would have had back. And then obviously, as Lance and Jalen both talked about post game, even with some of those issues, I think maybe a couple of them, even like those 9 sacks, maybe could have been avoided if Jalen maybe would just gotten rid of the ball or gotten it out quicker. He mentioned a sack that he basically just moved on his progression instead of just hitting a guy that was open. So there are a lot of things that go into those sacks and everything. But yeah, it was an issue for KU's offensive line and a group, like I mentioned, that KU had a lot of confidence in. Even if the run game had some, grounds to make up coming into this game, that the pass blocking was at that level was disappointing for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Jordan Guskey, Topeka Capitol Journal, joins the show via Zoom. And Jordan, before we flip the field to look at the defensive side, I want to talk about one guy in particular on the offense, Bowden Gruen, being able to step up after a unfortunate Deshaun Hanika injury left him out for the season. 13 receptions. I mean, just talk about the steps that he's made, because, whenever he hit the transfer portal and came to Kansas, at least I certainly did not expect this out of Bowden Gruen. What are you seeing out of him?
Yeah, I think just stepping up when his number's called. I know it's a big cliche here in sports in general, and especially in football, but obviously Deshaun was a big factor in the passing game before he went down, and Bowden has sort of stepped up into that mold, been a really easy target for Jalen to hit over the course of, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think that drive that led to the field goal, I think he had a number of those receptions, quick receptions to keep them going. Without really eating up too much of the clock for Leif to hit that 55-yard field goal. So I think he stepped up into that place Deshaun had. And like you mentioned, surprised a lot of people, including myself. I think a lot of people thought Deshaun was sort of going to lead that tight end group, and then everyone else would sort of support him. And now Bowden has sort of taken that mantle, and that's been huge for them because they really needed him, especially against, a Texas Tech pass rush that meant Jalen's clock had to be going a lot faster. Bowden was a really easy option. Just for them to be able to go to and move the sticks.
And let's flip the field here. Look at the defensive side of the ball. Cameron Dickey, well over 200 yards. They had 385 on the ground. Leading up to this game, we kind of talked about how, hey, this has to be the biggest game for the defensive tackle groups for this Kansas team. And it certainly wasn't, right? They were running the ball all over the place. What did you see out of the defensive front for Kansas, and what do you think can be improved?
Yeah, I think obviously generally just not enough. Obviously there wasn't enough pressure on Barron early. There was obviously that play he gets sacked and gets hurt, but there wasn't enough disruption early, especially on some of those runs by Texas Tech's running back. I think he had 2 touchdown runs of at least 50 yards, somewhere around there. I think 175 and 150-ish or something like that, something around there. So obviously not enough disruption up front. And then when Will Hammond comes in, they do a bit better for a period of time. But once Texas Tech, I think, really embraced running the ball with Will, Kansas obviously wasn't able to really counteract that all too greatly. And then that obviously contributes to 21-0 second half difference.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a challenge for KU, and Texas Tech rose to that challenge, and they're going to be, a top 10 team maybe the rest of the year. If you look at their schedule, I don't see a lot of losses on there for the Red Raiders. But now for KU, another situation where you have a bye week after a loss, which sucks as fans, right? Because we're ready to get back out there. Yeah. But an opportunity. K-State also has a bye week. Not sure if we'll get to talk to you about then. Just talk about the next 5 games, the final 5 regular season games. You get 3 of them at home, including your next 2. And then we'll ask you about K-State.
Yeah, I think generally this is sort of where I thought KU would be based on my preseason prediction. I think people can probably fact check me. I think I'm around where this 4-3 record is at this point in the season. So I don't know if it's generally surprising that KU's at this point. But I think the way that it's panned out obviously makes the Kansas State game very important coming off of a bye week. He's obviously had a lot of success with Lance coming off a bye week, so that's going to be really important. But I think Oklahoma State looks a lot easier, obviously, than it did coming into the season. I think Arizona's a little bit of a question mark, how that's going to be, especially if it's on the road. Iowa State's looking a little bit more winnable at this point than it did early. Utah looks pretty tough, especially after this past weekend, beating Arizona State the way they did. So I think it's up in the air in terms of these last 5 games. But I think KU is definitely still in a position to be able to get to a bowl game and compete in that bowl game, which I think is generally where I thought they would be at this point.
Yeah, you want to get these 2 wins at home, right? Because then you're going to be feeling a lot better. Your record's going to look pretty shiny there at 6-3, 4-2 if they're able to get that going. What do you make of K-State? Obviously, you do great work for the Topeka Capitol Journal, and you're well entrenched into both KU and K-State. It's not like the roster has undergone a ton of changes, right? There's a particular guy that people are unsure of the status of, but in general, K-State struggled the first 6 games, lost close games, almost lost to North Dakota, but then they have a nice showing against TCU before their upcoming bye week as well. Just general thoughts from your viewpoint on the Cats.
Yeah, I think in some ways it sort of mirrors Kansas from last season, right? There are just opportunities that Kansas State left on the field in 1-score games, much like Kansas in 2024, that has K-State viewed in a much lesser light than they were viewed heading to the preseason, just like Kansas last year loses a lot of 1-score games early and is viewed in a much lesser light. So I think it's still a really good team. Obviously, has a talented quarterback who can make a lot of plays both through the air and on the ground, and a defense that I think is better than maybe at times it's shown this season. So I think Kansas State's definitely going to be a tough out for Kansas. I know before the season started, I predicted this as a Kansas State win. Obviously, that looks a little different now, just because of how Kansas State season's gone and Kansas has been able to sort of stay steady. So it's definitely going to be a tough game, but luckily for Kansas, I think as I've said before, they're going to be at home, so they're going to have that home crowd at whatever that 11 a.m. kickoff, which I guess some people on Twitter aren't super happy about.
Right. Yeah, no, they're not super thrilled about it. I like the 11 a.m. kickoff. It gets my Saturday started.
If I were tailgating, I would like the later games, but I'm good. I'm good when I'm working the games for the 11 a.m.
Yeah, Jordan Guskey, Topeka Capitol Journal, joins the show. And Jordan, if you mind, we're going to go back a game to the UCF game. I want you to look at this game because of the fact that Kansas was able to win it in a way that they haven't been able to win games, at least in recent history. Are you looking at this UCF game, especially now, as potentially the biggest win of the season and potentially a pivotal point for this Kansas squad? Because of the fact that, like, you look at this and you go, okay, well, because Kansas went on the road in a tough environment down in the bounce house against UCF and was able to win, you still have a little bit of confidence left, as opposed to if you go down and lose that game, then you lose a blowout to Texas Tech. It's almost like the season is completely over. Do you share that same sentiment in terms of that UCF game is probably the biggest game of the year?
Yeah, I think in a sense, yeah. I think I don't even put maybe the Texas Tech game in that group. I look at it as just Cincinnati was a game they should have won. They should have come away. Even Cincinnati's had a great year. I'm not taking anything away from Cincinnati, but that was a game that Kansas should have won and had the opportunity to win. So I think that UCF game, I think, like you mentioned, was a pivot point. If they don't win that UCF game, if they don't make that comeback after being down 14-0 in the first half, then this is a big issue. You're not looking at Kansas State just as a rivalry game. What's going to happen. You're looking at that as this is going to be a real issue in terms of trying to get to bowl eligibility if you don't beat Kansas State. Now, Kansas State's just sort of back in that regular sort of run of the season kind of outlook. But yeah, I think the UCF game, they saved the season is obviously way too outlandish. I'm not trying to say that, but they really, really needed that game after losing against Cincinnati to be able to sort of right the ship. And I think that was a big game for the defense, being able to hold UCF the way they did in the second half, and a big game really for, Le'Shawn Williams, who came in with high shot hurt. Obviously, they were supposed to be a 1-2 punch, and then Le'Shawn has the sort of game that he does against UCF, which I think just builds confidence for that offense in general. But yeah, it was a huge game for them to win, and really massive for that defense to get those 2 stops, a 1-score game that, like we mentioned, they weren't really able to win all that much outside of, I think, BYU last year.
One thing that we probably haven't talked about a lot regarding this Kansas team compared to even last year's Kansas team, obviously that you have the close games, but I'm thinking of this looking at Avery Johnson. KU has done a much better job this season in general containing the quarterback run, right? You look at, and whether it's Nico Markiel or Bo Prabula or even Brendan Sorsby, KU did a really good job. Will Hammond had his moments, of course, for Texas Tech behind that big front, but KU's done a much better job containing. Obviously, they have much better linebackers, and that's a big reason why. But that'll be a challenge with Avery Johnson because we know he likes to scoot.
Yeah, I think I think if I was looking at this from a Kansas perspective, I would feel more confident if the Will Hammond stuff hadn't happened, because I think everyone sort of knew if he came into the game for Texas Tech that it was going to be much more of a run heavy offense for Texas Tech, than it was with Morton in there. So I think, like Lance mentioned after the game, they wish they had just executed better. So I think going into a game against Avery, there's a little more concern on my end, just because they knew Will Hammond was going to be able to do that kind of stuff, and then he did it anyway against that team. And obviously, the running game was more than just Will Hammond, but they knew early that he was going to do that. They were able to stop him early in those early drives, late first half, heading to the second half. But once Texas Tech found its footing, that was an issue. So I think that's a bit of concern for Kansas heading to this game against Kansas State, and Avery Johnson, who definitely, like you mentioned, is a dual threat guy.
Jordan, looking at Lance Leipold's press conference after the game, is there anything that he said that kind of stuck out to you? Aside from, I mean, we won't talk about the pocket knives and the tortillas and all that stuff, but anything aside from that stuff, is there anything that he said that stuck out to you in terms of what he thinks needs to be done for this Kansas team?
Stuck out. Yeah, I think if you had asked what stuck out, I would think I would have just gone to the pocket knife stuff itself.
Right,
but
right, yeah.
Oh man, what stuck out? I think just that they knew where Texas Tech was going to be talent wise, and that they they knew where Texas Tech was going to be talent wise, and that they still weren't able to maybe have the sort of success that they were looking to come in. They knew how good Texas Tech could be, and Texas Tech still succeeded in those areas that they outlined. I mean, like Jalen mentioned, they knew how good that front was going to be, just as Lance did, and that front still had a lot of success. They knew that Will Hammond was going to be able to run the ball. They still had success. So I think that's what sort of stood out to me, that they had Texas Tech's identified the things that they could do well, and then it was still, an issue. I think that's what stood out.
Well, it's going to be a big challenge. KU K-State, 11 o'clock a week from Saturday, the Dillon Sunflower Showdown. Excited for that. Jordan, let's switch over to basketball. Late night in the fog coming up 6:30 on Friday. We haven't really picked your brain at all about this roster for the KU men. Your thoughts in general, because it's going to be a completely different looking team, almost a 180 from what we've seen the last couple of years. Athleticism, size, but also you don't have that continuity that you would have with a core group of returning guys. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of this season obviously rides on how well Darren Peterson can acclimate at the college level and be that potential number one NBA draft pick that a lot of people see him as. So I think obviously that's not breaking any news here. People know this sort of season goes as Darren Peterson goes.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. That's a scoop right there, guys. You haven't heard that before.
Breaking news. Jordan Guskey says Darren Peterson is good.
Yes. Hey, man. You guys said it also. No one heard it before me. And then obviously how Flory does moving in from his freshman to the sophomore year jump, I think is going to be huge as well. And I think a lot of people like myself are really interested to see how Jaden Dawson, Melvin Council, Trey White all do, because I think those are three contenders for the other three starting spots outside of Flory and Darren. I think those are the three guys that I'm really most interested to see how they do. And then also, Cole Rosario, who, is a sharpshooter off the bench. And then they got the guy from Canada who's supposed to be, another veteran presence. So I think those are guys that really stand out to me. I think this is a roster that I believe Self has talked about this in terms of just going for fit. If that fit works out, then I think this can be a team that competes for a Big 12 title. If it doesn't, obviously, then they don't maybe have sort of maybe the top end talent that past teams have had, that at least on paper that people talk about. So I'm really interested to see how that fit turns out here for this Kansas team.
I want to talk about late night in the fog, and I asked Tate and Henry about this last week, but I'm interested to know what you think about this. Late night doesn't exactly resemble basketball, I guess, is probably a good way to say it. Whenever you're watching late night in the fog, what are you trying to pull out of that, right? Because it's so hard to assess what's going on the court because it doesn't necessarily resemble a basketball game. Just what are you trying to pull out of late night in the fog?
Yeah, I think it's maybe those it's like the little moments. Like obviously there are going to be overreactions to it, but seeing, the crowd interaction with the new guys, seeing those little moments where maybe it's a Darren Peterson or a Flory showing those jumps that people are looking for them from. I don't mean literal physical jumps and more metaphorical jumps. I know they can both probably jump pretty high. I think those are the little moments that I'm sort of searching for rather than moments that reinforce maybe what you were thinking heading into the season, and maybe little moments that surprise you rather than sort of season outlook declarative statements. I think that's what I look for.
And obviously the AP poll came out. Kansas ranked at 19. As kind of insiders, also fans, we feel like it's relatively low, but we also understand because of these two last disappointing years. Your thoughts on the AP poll in general and where KU sits?
Yeah, I think just speaking generally, I think 15 to 20 range made some sense. I think being a top 10 team heading into preseason would have been asking a little too much, like you mentioned, after the last couple of years. I don't think it's possible for people to really just forget that entirely heading into this preseason expectation. So I think top 10 would have been asking a lot. 11 to 15 maybe would have been a little high, but I think 15 to 20 generally makes a lot of sense for where this team is, especially like I mentioned before, because while you have Darren Peterson, you have Flory Badunga, a lot of this will ride on their transfer additions and that fit. So I think Kansas is in a little bit more of a prove it season this year than it has been in the past couple. Obviously, is a preseason national title contender, and then obviously when you also think about it, this Big 12 is going to be super tough. So I think Kansas isn't even being necessarily just viewed in a national sense; it's also being viewed in a Big 12 sense as probably the best conference potentially this year in college basketball.
Yeah, it's strange, right? It's not strange to see 6 Big 12 teams ranked. It's just strange to see KU being the 6th highest of those Big 12 teams ranked. That's the case in the first AP poll that came out in the preseason. All right, I'm going to have you spotlight 3 different guys on this KU roster, Jordan, because they're the late additions to this team. And I just want you to give kind of your expectations on what their role is going to be. Everybody's high on Cole Rosario, right? But this is a very deep team. Is he going to be a starter potentially? Is he going to be the 10th guy? Paul Mbia, another guy that people aren't talking about a lot. I mean, you pair him up with Flory, that's a ton of length and size. And then Ginyu Gala, another guy who knows if he has a Shaq Moore when Shaq Moore was healthy, that type deal, but another ball handler. And you said veteran, I think he's 26 years old, right? So that would be appropriate. But those are kind of the late additions to the roster that hopefully we get some impact from.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Canada transfer. You mentioned Cole. Who's the other one? Paul? Those are the 3. Yeah. So I think Paul would be great. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how much he and Flory play together. I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to watch. But I think just on paper, I think he can be a great backup 5-man for Kansas. Obviously provides a lot of size and length. A guy that obviously at one point was going to NC State. Kansas plays at NC State later this season. So we'll see how that return, the sort of Paul game, I guess we can start calling it now, for Kansas.
Well, it's a Darion Williams revenge game if you ask Henry, because he was 70% sure that he was coming to Kansas and it didn't work out.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Henry, that it didn't work out.
Be a revenge game. Yeah.
Yeah. The revenge game for the guy who never played there before. But yeah, I think he's a great backup 5-man option for them, and someone who maybe if they try to pair him and Flory together, I think that's some great rim protection for that Kansas team. Their transfer from Canada, I think that's just a great veteran presence, maybe sort of along the lines of in some way, I'm not saying they're the same players, but like David Coit last year for Kansas was a great veteran presence for that team in terms of how he was in the locker room. I think this guy can be that for them. And also just someone who is experienced on the court. You added someone who has a lot of years of college experience. Maybe he was in Canada, but that's still a lot of college experience for that guy. And then Cole, yeah, definitely a sharpshooter guy for that offense. Can he be a starter? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Obviously, this starting lineup, I think last year there were some alterations made throughout the year. Does he end up getting on there, breaking out? We'll see. But even if he's your 6th, 7th, 8th man, having a 3-point shooter off the bench like that, I think is a massive add for this team that is certainly going to want to, spread the floor, hit some threes, and then try to get it to Flory inside.
Jordan, it's time for our favorite game. It's Guess That Starting 5. Sean and I know.
Guess Arkansas Pine Bluff starting 5.
No. So
which team in particular?
So for Kansas. No. So Sean and I go back and forth because I'm super high on El Marco. I think El Marco is going to get the spot over, but also a lot of people think it's going to be, Jaden Dawson and Melvin Council. We obviously know Flory and Darren Peterson are the two guys who are definitely going to be starting. But just give us your starting five against Louisville.
Oh, against Louisville, then yeah, I think. Well, against Louisville, okay. Because I think the exhibition starting five might look a little different than the actual starting five.
All right, well, give us. All right, give us. Who is it? Green Bay, I guess is the first.
Yeah, the Doug
Green Bay, okay.
Technically, there's four.
Doug Gottlieb revenge.
Yeah, the Doug Gottlieb game. Give us your starting five for the Green Bay game.
Yeah, I'm sure this is going to make this podcast. But
right.
I think obviously, like you mentioned, Darren Peterson and Flory are both on there. I think Jaden Dawson and Trey White are both on there. I guess the question maybe is between Elmarko and Melvin. I wonder if I'll go with Melvin for now. I'll go with Melvin as the fifth starter for now, but I do wonder if maybe there's some flip-flopping with that, especially with the exhibition game. Like, I guess I avoided your first question. But I think there might be some flip-flopping with those two, because I think Elmarko is definitely someone, as he gets healthier and gets to 100%, which already might be at, but as he gets healthier and more acclimated to the game again after his injury from last season, I think he's someone who can fight for a starting spot. But I'll go with Melvin for now, because he's definitely a dog, as he said before.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get to see everybody next week. That hasn't been the case the previous exhibitions, but Friday at 6:30 is Late Night in the Fog, and then exactly 7 days from that, KU and Louisville and the charity exhibition. Jordan, tell us anything you got going on right now at Topeka Capitol Journal, and how we can find your coverage.
Yeah, you can find it online and in the paper. Those are the two main places to find it. Obviously, I'm on social media with just my name, so it's pretty easy to figure that one out. Obviously, recapping coverage from this past weekend's game against Texas Tech, looking ahead to preseason coverage for men's basketball and women's basketball, and obviously women's volleyball is having a pretty good year. Obviously, they had a really tough schedule, so that's definitely, if you look at their record, it might not stand out as much, but it's still a team that has a lot of success, has a lot of talent, and can compete for a Big 12 title. And women's soccer as well is a team that won the Big 12 last season in that tournament and could definitely do so again in the second year of Nate Lee's tenure. So I think that's really generally where we're at here. But yeah, we're heading to busy season here as basketball starts up and football wraps up. So yeah, it's going to be a fun couple of months.
Yeah, tell me about it. And like you said, a lot of success on the Olympic sports side of things at KU as well. So we'll catch up with you hopefully sometime in the next few weeks, Jordan, and we'll see how we're feeling about everything. But appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll chat soon.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
All right. That's Jordan Guskey joining us here on Rock Chalk Sports and KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Dan Courtwright, you enjoyed watching the Chiefs-Lions game on Sunday nights.
I did.
As I did as well. Lions, unfortunately, had a touchdown called back. It was indeed illegal formation. I have some friends from up north, as you know, and they were not happy about it.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it is what it is. Chiefs end up winning 30-17. The second time this season that the Chiefs have hung 30-plus. They only did that twice all of last year.
Yeah. I think when you look at this Chiefs offense, you can see them starting to really find their way in terms of, like, look, Tyquan Thornton, I don't think he had a single target.
Yeah.
In on Sunday's game, right? Because Juju is playing excellent. Xavier Worthy is playing excellent. Hollywood Brown, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, that looked like 2018 Travis Kelce, if we're being honest.
Yeah, he did have some bounce to him.
He looked good. Oh, my goodness. So that was the first Chiefs game in a long time where you go, holy crap, man. We got weapons. Like, these guys are looking really good. Patrick Mahomes had an excellent night as well. 257, 3 touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown. So Patrick Mahomes,
yeah, he's playing like the MVP for sure.
Yeah, absolutely he is, right? And I think as of right now, I believe Patrick Mahomes is second, I think, in terms of just MVP favorites. It's Josh Allen's up there, which he shouldn't be, especially after last night's game and the game before that, because they just lost to the Patriots. And also Baker Mayfield, number 3. Shout out to Baker Mayfield.
Love Baker Big.
It's exciting, man. But yeah. I will say this, though. That's the first time in a long time that I have felt a lot of confidence in the Chiefs' skill position players. And then also I wanted to give a shout out to Jalen Moore. Able to step in. And now, granted, the Chiefs are paying him a lot of money, right? But he was able to step in and take over because Josh Simmons was dealing with a family emergency or something along those lines back in California. So he was a late scratch. And all of a sudden, it's like, hey, Jalen Moore, you got to go. You got to do your thing. Jalen Moore he didn't give up a single pressure until like the fourth quarter, I think. He was absolutely incredible. And I mean, obviously you have Josh Simmons and you feel confident in Josh Simmons, but I mean, do you potentially look at it, and I get it's different than quarterbacks, but do you potentially look at that and like, all right, well, yeah, you could potentially play Jalen Moore for the rest of the season in theory, and then have Josh Simmons kind of work under him? Or do you think game experience is probably worth more as a left tackle than it is kind of as a quarterback position? But it's also easy when you're that young to, you know, lose some, I guess, confidence in yourself. So I don't know, but also Jalen Moore looks fantastic, and they paid him a lot of money to be a backup tackle because he's the best backup tackle, I think, in the NFL, right? He was backing up Trent Williams over in San Francisco, and whenever he did play those 300 whatever plus snaps, he was damn good.
See, and that's money well spent. It's a good problem to have, right? Like, maybe do we have a little bit of a question mark here? Because the Lions have a really good defensive front.
Yes.
And when the Chiefs have struggled, which hasn't been a lot, but when they've lost big games, thinking of the 2 Super Bowl losses, they haven't been able to protect Mahomes. You have to. Your most valuable asset by far, so you got to be strong up front. And the Lions are good. I mean, they are good up front. They're good off the edge. And that was a big storyline.
Yeah, absolutely was, right? And I was thinking going into that game, they're like, oh, God, they're going to line up Aiden Hutchinson over Jalen Moore, who hasn't played virtually a single snap all season. Like, this is going to be bad. And it was a very good effort by them. And if you look at last year, I mean, the left tackle spot was just a freaking turnstile with Kingsley Suamataia. And then you switch Kingsley Suamataia over to the left guard spot, which is more of a natural position for him. And he's been having a great year as well. So they figured out the offensive line woes, and they just gives Patrick Mahomes more time in the backfield to be able to make those plays downfield. I mean, you look at just the numbers in terms of the distribution to some of these guys. Travis Kelce, 6 receptions, 78 yards. Juju, 3 receptions, 57. Hollywood Brown, 4 for 45, 2 touchdowns. Noah Gray had 2 for 25. I mean, the list goes on. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys all over 20 yards receiving. Kareem Hunt had 11 as well. I mean, that's impressive stuff.
This is what it was.
I know
this is Chiefs football, right? 2019 to 2022.
Yes.
Chiefs get down. Yeah, it wasn't good when we were down 24-0 to the Texans in the playoff game, but then all of a sudden we hang 51. And then for 3 years, you're thinking it doesn't really matter how much the other team scores because we're going to score every time. And then the last couple of years, granted, the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl all 3 years.
I believe 3 years in a row. Yeah,
and they won
if I'm recalling
2
correctly.
of them. Last year, the more you look back on it, yes, the Chiefs have had a dominant defense, an elite defense, all of that, really good individuals. But you did feel like the 17 wins a little bit was fool's gold. Am I crazy? There were a couple crazy wins at the end. You had the blocked field goal against the Broncos.
Yeah, a lot of luck.
There was some luck involved for sure. So maybe fool's gold isn't the right way to put it, but you didn't have that burst from the Chiefs offense that we're used to seeing.
Right.
And now, like I said, 2 30-plus point games through 6 games compared to last year. It was 2 30-plus point games for 17 games for the Chiefs. And it seems like they're getting it back. And this is great news because you're getting reinforcements, right? Rashee Rice is coming back. He's going to be healthy. He's going to be ready to go. And the schedule also isn't as difficult. But isn't it interesting? And I know we're going to talk a little Monday Night Football later. Bills lay an egg in Atlanta. Bills and Chiefs right now, according to DraftKings, they are the co-favorites to win the Super Bowl, both at plus 650. So the Chiefs, despite being 3-3 in third place in their division, are co-favorites. And there's something to be said for the fact that Rice is coming back. The schedule won't be as difficult, that sort of thing. But the bottom line is it's fun to watch this offense again and kind of get back to being the offense that, again, gave us so much confidence no matter what the score was.
Yeah, I think so. And look, I think you can look at this game maybe as an outsider and say, oh, well, this game is also fool's gold. Right? Because, I mean, you look at all of the injuries that the Detroit Lions had on the defensive end, right? DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, Avonte Maddox. I mean, all of these guys were not able to play. They had Kirby Joseph had to come out. Kirby Joseph, by the way, didn't realize this, 20 interceptions in his career. That's insane.
That's crazy good.
That's absolutely insane. He is not talked about enough. Kirby Joseph is one of the better safeties, if not the best safety playing football right now. But he had to go out for a little bit. So, I mean, how much could you look at this? And yes, they still had Aiden Hutchinson up front and Alex Anzalone and all these different really good players on the defensive side of the ball for the Lions, but still they had a lot of guys who are missing. So how much of that is fool's gold, or how much of it is the fact that, all right, well, hey, the Chiefs, they figured it out. The wide receivers are looking good. Hollywood Brown's fast. Xavier Worthy's fast. All of a sudden, guess what? You have Rashee Rice back on your roster. Now you have 4 guys who you do feel confident in. And I know I've talked trash on Juju in the past before, saying that, oh, you got cut from the Patriots or whatever.
That is your favorite line.
It is my favorite line. He is looking good. I will give credit's due. Now, how much of it is Patrick Mahomes making him look good? Because look, is Tyquan Thornton really that good, or is Patrick Mahomes making Tyquan Thornton look good? I think it's kind of the same thing with Juju Smith-Schuster. But Juju Smith-Schuster has done a good job of finding a really solid role on this Kansas City team. And yeah, I mean, look, like I said, you got that Ferrari in the garage just waiting in Rashee Rice, finally able to get out there against the Raiders. And I think that's going to turn this team completely around. Do you want? Well, I'll let you speak to that first. I was going to talk about the fight, though.
I wanted to say one more thing about the Lions game, and then we get to Brian Branch. As you know, I have friends in Michigan, Lions fans, and
shout out to Andy Flower, by the way.
What did I hear after this one? Zebras.
Yep.
Zebras. No flags on the Chiefs. Chiefs got penalized 13 times the week prior. All you see. What's crazy to me is, and you and I mean, we've been doing a show for a while, going back to last year, talking about Chiefs and just complaining about people complaining about the refs. And no matter what, whenever the Chiefs win, it's just so funny to me that 3 times this season the Chiefs have lost. I ain't seeing Sports Illustrated post articles about how this is rigged and how the refs are being paid off and the refs are happy. Chiefs are 3-3. Now, they win a game, don't get flagged, but pretty much dominate the Lions, 30-17, who's looked at as a top-tier team in their own right.
Right. I mean, did
you
the
see
refs
Sports
give
Illustrated,
the Chiefs 13 points?
You see everybody. I mean, if you ask them, yes. You see everybody going on saying the refs were paid off. So, okay, so if the Chiefs lose, everything's legitimate. Everything's legitimate, completely fairly called game. 13 penalties on the Chiefs. They lose by 3. Let's ignore that. Let's not write an article. And then whether it's SI or somebody else sees the Chiefs don't get flagged, and people are talking about it, right? So I just think it's ridiculous. People hate greatness. That's what it comes down to. That's the same thing with LeBron James. It's the same thing with Tom Brady. It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Whatever it is, people hate greatness.
Mike Trout.
That's what it is.
Mike Trout is the prime example of that, because he should have won MVP for like 7 years in a row and just didn't. Because
Aaron
people were
Judge.
tired of Mike Trout being good. Aaron Judge.
It's insane. The voter fatigue and all that. Before we get to the
I will say this. Did you see that there was a study done by, I believe, UTEP, that they analyzed every single game from 2015 until now, and they said that the referees do favor the Chiefs. But I will say this. UTEP has 100% acceptance rate. So you're telling me a bunch of idiots came up with this research? I'm not going to believe a word that they say.
What did it say? What are the
100%?
specifics?
Huh?
What are the specifics?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't read the article. It's probably
51%.
It's probably illegible because they're writing it in crayon down there in UTEP.
I'm also very noted UTEP hater. I'm also very curious what the information was. Like, is it only times number of flags? I mean, did they go back and did they break down every single play and see if everybody was lined up appropriately?
But like over the past couple,
timing of the flags.
I remember looking at this. Like over the past 5 years, the Chiefs have been like in the top of most flagged teams. Jawan Taylor's the most flagged player in the league.
When he's not getting flagged, he's good.
Yes,
I mean, he
know.
does not.
I know.
He does not give up pressures, and that's why he gets paid good money.
He's the second highest paid player on.
I want you to say what you want regarding the fight at the end of the Chiefs versus the Big Cats. Before the Chiefs bye week, we host the Raiders, then we get the football team also at home, and then at the Bills. Would you take 2-1? 2-1 in those games, and you're sitting at 5-4.
Who's the one? If the one is the Raiders, then I'm feeling bad.
But then you just beat the football team and won in Western New York.
Yeah, I know. But you just can't lose to the Raiders. I I'll take 2-1. I would rather. I don't.
Well,
I mean,
what? You'd rather be 3-0?
no, I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility. Like 3-0 is probably the most likely scenario there.
I mean,
would
we're going to be
say.
underdogs at the Bills.
Yeah, but the Bills just lost to the freaking Falcons.
So I know, but
they
you're
lost
not going
to
to
the Patriots and the Falcons in back-to-back games.
You can't give up
They're
on teams like
terrible
the Bills
teams.
and the Eagles. You're not going to give up on them.
What? You know why I'm going to give up on them? Because they don't have Patrick Mahomes. I've given up on Patrick Mahomes in the past, and he's proven me wrong every single time. You know who hasn't proven me wrong? Josh Allen. I have had a lot of faith in Josh Allen. I've had a lot of faith
in the regular season.
In Lamar Jackson.
In the regular season, Josh Allen has
They've not even gone to a Super Bowl.
Defeated Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. So there is that.
Doesn't matter.
But after that, then you've got at the Broncos, and then you've got the Colts at home. Then you're at the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day.
Are you still believing in the
bottom
Colts?
line is you are already looking. I mean, look at the rest of the schedule. Yeah, you've got the Chargers still. You got the Broncos twice, and the Colts are better than people thought, and maybe the Texans are figuring it out. But you've got the Raiders twice. You've got the Titans. I mean, you got the football team, but that's at home.
Yeah.
You have the Lions, the Eagles, at the Jags, which is a tricky game, and then the Ravens, who were fully healthy for the most part, I guess. Jackson played. Plus at the Chargers. Those are all behind you 6 games in. So that's part of why the Chiefs are looked at in a positive light.
So Commanders at home, then at Bills, at Broncos. That's probably the toughest 3-game stretch that we still have left.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and then you have Colts at home,
good.
which you feel good at home, and the Colts are going to be a challenge for sure. But
and
anytime the Chiefs are at home, I mean, you're going to take. It's a completely different outlook. And again, I go back to the Giants game because the Chiefs heading into that one just weren't feeling good. They were 0-2, right? Lost at the Chargers, lost to the Eagles at home. And I remember saying, I'm hitting the panic button if we lose this game. Well, the Chiefs didn't. They gutted it out. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but 22-9.
Yeah, the score doesn't necessarily show how close that game was.
And then since then, offensively, 37, 28, and 30. You pair that with a really good defense. Chiefs have a lot of talent. I mean, you got Chris Jones, you got Furious George, you got Trey McDuffie. You've got a lot of talent on the defensive side. They're going to continue to be a top 10
and Leo Chenal.
defense.
I mean, they're playing
a lot of great players
linebackers right
and
now.
if you get the offense back to being what the offense has been for the Chiefs, that's huge. Talk to me about Brian Branch.
Yeah, in case you didn't see, there was a fight at the end of the game. Brian Branch. How do I want to? Well, okay. I'll start off with this. I'll explain what happened. So Brian Branch, walking towards Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes puts his hand out to give him a high five. That's a good sportsman thing to do post game. Post game high fives, dapping each other up, all that stuff. Brian Branch doesn't high five Patrick Mahomes. Juju Smith-Schuster sees that and says, "Hey man, you better high five my quarterback." And Brian Branch punched Juju Smith-Schuster in the face.
Open hand.
Okay,
but he was bleeding. I mean,
he was bleeding. We had actually had an inside source there, Easton John, who saw Juju Smith-Schuster coming back in, and one half of the law firm saw him coming back in. He had a towel over his nose for the bleeding. But I shout out to Juju though for sticking up for his quarterback. Brian Branch he has been an issue. He's a good player. I think he's he does fine. He got fined 7 times last year for stuff like this, and then already 3 times this year.
Dan Campbell
certainly going to be the 4th one. Dan Campbell needs to.
Dan Campbell said the right things. He said, "quote I love Brian Branch, but what he did is inexcusable, and it's not going to be accepted here." End quote.
It's insane.
Branch is only 23, so I guess you could use that as an excuse. But he then goes and says post game that. I don't know if he said Juju was chirping or Mahomes was chirping or whatever it was, but basically when you have that track record, that's not going to go well, right? And
absolutely,
and
it's
again,
not good for the reputation.
I don't even care. It's the second kid on the playground type thing. If those guys are, which everybody chirps during it. Let's not act like the Chiefs don't chirp as well.
They've never said anything bad in their lives. They're all good people.
When they do,
good Samaritans.
If you don't react well, like Branch didn't, then you're going to pay for it. And obviously, if you're the one who's causing the physical harm and people can see that, then certainly you're going to get disciplined for that. But Dan Campbell, it seems like, handled it the right way. But Mahomes did give him the side eye. after the game.
Mahomes is in the middle of it
Yeah.
too. Like there was a big scrum. Mahomes is in the middle of it trying to break it up. I loved it. I love a little scrappiness because Mahomes, you could put that guy in a bubble and wrap him up in plastic wrap and try to protect him as much as you can. But I love to see the $500 million man getting in there and scrapping it up.
He's underpaid, man.
It's a
I'll
good,
tell you that much.
It's
He's
a
underpaid.
fun thing to see.
Next up for the Chiefs is a home tilt with the Raiders, who are not good, at noon on Sunday. That needs to be a win. That needs to not be a letdown. I could see it being kind of a natural letdown just because you see them. The Raiders aren't good. You don't have to play your A game, but the Chiefs go out, get up by 2 touchdowns, and just coast in this one. And, we'll be feeling good. After this, going to update you on some other things going on in the world of sports. Some big news that came out today regarding the KU basketball coaching staff that we'll let you know about, plus MLB postseason, and perhaps a word or two on the Monday Night Football doubleheader last night as well. That's coming up on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Some news for KU football and men's basketball. Dan, tell us about Jalen Daniels, one of your top 10 Seans and Daniels in sports.
That's right. Was he number one? I think he was
Yes.
number one on my top 10 Seans and Daniels in sports.
Unless it was
they
Shawn
all
Michaels.
just happened to be Daniels. I'm very sorry about that. It's just the way that it shook out. Kansas redshirt senior Jalen Daniels. He's one of 20 semifinalists for the 9th annual Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year Award. The organization announced earlier today, awarded to honor exemplary leadership by a college player on and off the field. Really awesome stuff for Jalen. I mean, we all know he's such a great guy off the field. Obviously, a great player on the field, right? He's 130 for 186 passing, 1,752 yards, 18 touchdowns already at this point in the season. And just a guy who he's never had any off-field issues even remotely, right? I mean, this is the kind of guy that you look at as just a perfect textbook example of a fantastic leader. The way that he handles the media, the way he handles the outside world is just something that you can't teach, right? That just shows and proves that his character is unlike any other. So this is a well-deserved semifinalist, should be a finalist, should win it in my book.
One of 20 semifinalists. You'll remember last year as well, KU had a semifinalist when Devin Neal was named. So back, in 2024. Daniels, as we talked about throughout, he's having an incredible year. He's got 18 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Fantastic start to the season. 5 biggest games left, of course, a week from Saturday, the Dillon's Sunflower Showdown, 11 a.m. KU and K-State. The winner of that award, by the way, will be announced on Monday, December 16th. Jeremy Case,
yes,
KU assistant coach, as of today, according to head coach Bill Self, has been promoted to associate head coach for KU men's basketball. Case joined the staff in August 2016. He's been an assistant coach since April of 2021. So big news for him, of course, a Jayhawk who played here during Coach Self's first years at KU, 2004 through 2008. Coach Self saying, quote, Jeremy has done a tremendous job as an assistant coach since 2021. He has played a big role both on the court and in the new world of college basketball recruiting. Jeremy and I discussed this promotion last spring, but delayed announcing it with the staff changes we had going into the summer. I'm very excited for Jeremy and his family. He is a rising star in the profession, end quote. Coach Case would then say, quote, I am incredibly grateful for this opportunity to continue my development at a place that is so special to me. Having the chance each day to work for a Hall of Fame coach is such an honor. I'm thankful to Coach Self for the belief he has in me as a coach, and I'm very excited to continue to work with a great staff. End quote. Jeremy Case, I remember KU had a magical senior day his senior year in 2008, where Jeremy Case came in, and he was always a great shooter. He just ended up being on an absolutely loaded team, so he didn't play as much, but he lit up Texas Tech. KU scored, I want to say, 109 in that game. I'll look that up.
Man.
It's like 109 to 55 or something, KU's senior day against Texas Tech back in 2008. And one of the few guys across college basketball who gets to celebrate the fact
109.51.
Oh, I was close. I was
wow.
off. I said 109.55. Few guys who gets to experience not only a national championship win as your final game, but final years of eligibility is what it was for Case and Darnell Jackson and Sasha Khan and Russell Robinson, Roderick Stewart as well.
Yeah.
But those guys who in particular started their careers at Kansas were here throughout everything. We had a couple first round exits in the NCAA tournament, and then throughout all of his time at Kansas, got to celebrate not only a fantastic senior day, as we discussed, where he got some run, but his final game as a Jayhawk after a long tenure, winning the national championship. And good for him being promoted to associate head coach.
Yeah, this is really exciting, right? And look, we've heard from a lot of the guys on the team about how Jeremy Case is a fantastic coach. He's super easy to work with, really good with player development. So this is a well-deserved thing, right? He's been at Bill Self's right hand for a while now, and Bill Self obviously has a lot of trust in him. So how does this change his role? I mean, I don't think it changes it a whole heck of a lot, or it could potentially just mean, hey, he has a little bit more say in terms of what goes on in practice. He has more say, more pull in terms of, hey, this guy's playing well, we should put him in, those kinds of things. So I don't know how the role is necessarily going to change for Jeremy Case, but another guy who's very well deserved, because, I mean, look, like I said, he's been there forever. All the guys love him. He's a Jayhawk through and through. It's just a really, really cool thing for him.
We get to have him on occasionally for our Opponent Outlook on a Crimson and Blue show on the Jayhawk Sports Network. We filter through different assistant coaches in our pregame coverage. Jeremy Case, so personable, so easy to talk to. Absolutely love getting a chance. Remembers your name. Just a really great guy. So good for Coach Self, for Coach Case, and everybody for KU basketball. Quick note on the Major League Baseball postseason. Of course, they're in the ALCS, NLCS. Right now, ALCS, it's all Seattle. They take the first 2 games in Toronto, so they have a 2-0 lead as they go to the Pacific Northwest for this best of 7 series, as the bats have been cooking. Both Jorge Polanco and Julio Rodriguez homered, as did Josh Naylor yesterday. It was Cal Raleigh, of course, in game 1. And on the other side, the Dodgers won, Dan, 2-1 in Milwaukee, game 1 last night. A couple ridiculous plays in that one.
Right.
The double play, which ended up being a force out at home and then a force out at third, bases loaded, so close to being a grand slam in a 0-0 game. Sal Frelick, the center fielder for the Brewers, catches it until he didn't at the wall. It looked like a grand slam robbery. Worked out better because it wasn't even a sac fly. The ball pops out. He gets it off the carom, does Frelick, throws it home. All of the runners.
So it bounced off the
glove and then the wall and then back into his glove.
Once it hits the wall, it's a live ball.
Correct.
And it's not a catch anymore.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So obviously that's difficult to see if you're the base runner, but so after the ball caromed off the wall, he was able to get it and throw it home. The runners didn't know what to do, so they had frozen. William Contreras gets what was then a force out at home. Yeah. Because the ball technically was live. It's just like any old ground ball in the infield. And then Contreras takes it to third as well. A double play did not end up mattering, as the Dodgers ended up winning 2-1. Freddie Freeman had a homer in that one. The other thing about this game, though, bottom of the 9th, Dan, tough situation for a hitter and just the brain of a hitter, I would say, because it was 2-1. Brewers were at the bat and down with the bases loaded and 2 out. Bryce Terang is up. A pitch is about to hit him. I mean, about to hit him, and just reflexes. He gets out of the way of the pitch. It absolutely would have plunked in, would have tied the game. He gets out of the way of the pitch. He should have
taken one for the team
easily. Absolutely. Sean, he's saying that, but the mind gets in the way, and then he swings at a pitch that's nowhere close, and then they lose the game.
Sean, so if I asked you, I said, hey, Sean, in order for us to, I don't know, get a free sandwich at Jimmy John's or something, all you had to do is stand in the batter's box and take a 98-mile-an-hour fastball to the shoulder. Would you do it?
I don't know exactly how much a sandwich at Jimmy John's costs, but I'm thinking a bonus to make the World Series would probably be a little bit more.
Sure.
So there is that.
I was trying to make it more relatable.
I'm sure he's just hating himself after that. Bryce Terang, a case of the Mondays for you last night.
Tough
stuff. Monday Night Football. Anything hop out at you? Bills lose again.
Yeah, Bills lose again. They're weird, man. They're a weird. No, I'm not saying that the Falcons aren't great, right? But Michael Penix is turning into something special, right? I really like their head coach. I really like Drake London, and Bijan Robinson has been unbelievable all year long. There's something. I mean, look, I'll say it. The Bills' Super Bowl window is closing unless they get some more reinforcements on the outside. They need better secondary, and they also need better wide receivers, right? Because Khalil Shakir is fine, but they need to trade for somebody, or else their window is going to close. James Cook's going to want more money, right? Deion Dawkins is getting older. He's going to want more money. Josh Allen is already getting paid a ton of money, but also, you got Joey Bosa on the other end. You got a number of different guys who could potentially leave in the coming years. You got to do it now if you're the Bills. Also, the
Interesting.
Bears won on
I was going to say, it should be interesting because the Bills and the Eagles right now are having tough Octobers, if you will. That happens to a lot of teams. On the flip side, the Chicago Bears are 3-2.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson.
By the way, I called that. I said money line.
There you go. There you go. Ben Johnson gets the win. All of a sudden, the Bears are 3-2. Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels. Daniels has the crucial fumble late, but after a really tough start to the tenure for Ben Johnson, one of the few first-year head coaches who's actually doing well all of a sudden.
Right.
When you see these other guys getting canned left and right.
Yeah.
Brian Callahan.
Right. Brian Callahan did just get fired, which I'm a little shocked that
Aaron Glenn, you think will be fired if they lose their next 3?
Eventually. Gosh, if they lose their next 3, he's probably going to be done. But yeah, I don't know. I think that Ben Johnson's doing a great job. I think the Bears looked good last night against the Commanders. The Commanders are also a very solid team. So Bears, they could be a force to be reckoned with in the relatively near future.
Hey, on Rock Chalk Sports the rest of the week, we're going to have extended coverage on KU basketball. Of course, Late Night in the Fog coming up at 6:30, brought to you by Hy-Vee.
One more thing. Shout out to Rally House for letting us use their ladder.
And shout out to Miles Schneer and everybody over at Crown Automotive. We're going to be at Hy-Vee on Thursday promoting Late Night in the Fog presented by Hy-Vee, 6:30 on Friday. But you're going to see all sorts of video of KU men's and women's basketball players here in the coming days. For Elijah Schmidt, running the productions, and Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman saying we'll catch you tomorrow from 4 to 6 on Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City, and KansasNation.com.